welcome back to the Mother Effing Eat This podcast, bitch.
You're
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. My name is clearly Chloe, and this is my lovely co host, David Banks.
hello.
And hello. Well, I'll do what you usually do to me and ask you, how are you first?
I'm doing very well. I might be a little sluggish. I was at an event not too long ago, so you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, but I'm cool. It's been raining so hard, so I'm trying my best to get some kind of sunshine somewhere.
Yeah, it's raining over here too. It's very on theme. With our episode today, which I'll dive into in a minute. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched our most recent episode, Read the Room with Astrology and Intuition. If you haven't seen that already, it's going to pop up at the end of the video. Otherwise, I'm going to try to put it in here somewhere now. I don't know if I could do that, but we'll find out later. So that way you guys can tune in if you missed it.
Oh,
And, yee. And, also, a quick reminder, we're still going to do our celestial check-in for this energy, which is going to be, I believe, Friday the 13th when this comes out. And yeah, so make sure to tune into that. That's going to be a separate playlist, but we'll dive right into the topic this week. Drum roll, please.
look, for the Friday the 13th people out there,
Yeah,
heck yeah.
right. As someone who's like not a horror fan at all and like hates scary shit, like this is my worst nightmare. I like keep in my room and I'm like, nothing bad is gonna happen today.
Yeah, I kind of dwell in the light and the dark, so it doesn't bother me as much.
Well, that's very much on brand because this week's episode is Dark Night of the Soul, Spiritual Rebirth Edition.
Ooh.
I take the lead this time around because your girl had quite the Dark Night of the Soul.
Oh yeah.
Knocked my whole ass back, man. So, you know, I think one of the signs that a lot of people mistake like Dark Night of the Soul for when it's actually that is just like depression or sadness or feeling disconnected, right? Like lost, confused, like you don't know who you are anymore. And I think that we've been conditioned to think that that's like just a mental health issue and it's been customized to be like a very oh physically like you can't function, you got a problem kind of thing. But I think that I had so much guilt and shame around the fact that like all of a sudden all of the thoughts and beliefs that I had been conditioned with where were falling away like rapidly and fast. Like all of a sudden I'm like, this can't be how it is. I don't believe in what society's telling me that I have to do to work and live and survive. Something within me just wasn't buying into the shit. Like
Yeah.
and I think that a lot of people start to kind of question themselves in the world, and that's kind of like what catapults a spiritual awakening. And like your soul ultimately is like hey, we're gonna evolve and expand our consciousness, come this way. And you're like, no, but my ego, like this is my sense of self, I don't know who I am or what I'm doing and everything's terrible. And spirit's like, hey, like I know you feel like you're in no man's land, but like it's necessary to kind of evolve and kind of transform
Yeah.
into like the highest version of yourself. And mine hit so hard that I filed for disability for a year and a half of my life. Like I was waking up with panic attacks every day trying to go to a 9 to 5 job. I was literally just writing about this in my book actually because I felt like everything that I was doing was wrong. But I was like, but I have everything I should need, right? Like I had a relationship that I thought was the right thing at that time. I had the apartment, I was paying all the bills, I had the job, I had weekends off. And I'm like, why am I waking up feeling so empty when I
Mm.
was promised that this is what would? This was how life. This is what was exciting, being on your own. And I was like, I'm so deeply unfulfilled.
And
And
you
like,
said when you say promise, what do you mean by the government?
I think that, at least where I kind of grew up, there was like society's expectation, and yes, like the government, a little bit of, you know, You graduate high school, you go to college, you get the degree, you get the quote unquote dream job, you move out on your own, Miss Independent, you know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden, like, that was you starting your life and you're supposed to live happily ever after. But I don't feel like anyone emotionally prepared me for how my spirit was gonna reject that shit because I wasn't supposed to be on that path. Spirit said, girl, you ain't,
100%.
you know what I mean? Like, I think that I thought something was wrong with me. And I realized that, like, I had a greater purpose and I was being redirected. And I had to kind of release this old version of myself that was conditioned to function, to survive, which of course wasn't going to feel good because, like, we're abundant creators. Like, we're meant to do what we love and feel free to create and not be in this system. You know, I think it's important to serve other people, but I think that, like, to continue to take action out of a place of fear, misalignment, or to please other people, you know, which a lot of people do, that's when I feel like all of a sudden my dark night of the soul smacked me in the face and, like, I was about to say something very vulgar, but
I could probably take a guess.
yeah, my hand motion alone. Um, you know, but I do feel like that was my tower moment where I was like, wait a minute. Like, I can't be the only one questioning shit out here. But I felt like everyone else around me was just like, this is life. Life is hard. You got to do things you don't want to do. And I was like,
And plus, you got to think like some people are gonna be stuck third dimensionally, like with like being aware and stuff like that. I think it's important to at least realize in this lifetime that maybe this is the time that you should actually be learning what you didn't learn in your past life. Because a lot of people be like, "Oh, this is the norm. This is the materialistic thing," and don't even realize you're doing spiritual things innately. Like when you take a shower, you know what I'm saying. When you pray, you know what I'm saying. Um, when you sleep, you're half dead anyway. So it's just weird that people think that these kind of dark moments is just something that's like, oh, something's wrong with you. Like, no, you probably had it too. You just didn't label it that. So
yeah. And I just don't think that we were created in this life to suffer. Like, I just,
no, hell no.
you know what I mean? And I feel like the negative emotion is almost an indicator of what's not for you and how you're thinking or reacting to something in your external. So it was like me telling myself I had to go do this thing when there's really unlimited opportunities for me. Of course, something with, because like your higher self is going to be like, girl, we don't agree with what you're thinking. This is, and it pulls you, like, you're not catching up with your spiritual evolution, because I feel like this is earth school in a way, and we're supposed to, like, wake up to the realization that this is a 3D experience, that we do have the power to manifest and co-create with the universe and do things that feel good to us, and good will come from that through universal law. You know what I mean? So it was like, but I think that I had a lot of struggle with the fact that I was having these spiritual awakenings and epiphanies, and I looked crazy to everyone around me because they were not having that spiritual experience that
It's
I was
sad
having.
though. It's really sad. Like
It's
in my
lonely.
because it's like not to because I could still be unaware to this day. So that's not the sad part. It's like when you kind of show some people proof, and it's like, nah, that can't be right. Or when you actually show people manifestation stuff. I don't know if you heard about this, but there's a thing called evil eye.
Hmm.
You're not really supposed to show people your manifestations and shit, even your rituals and stuff, because it's frowned upon, especially in the spiritual realm. Like you're not supposed to do that at all, because it can one ruin the ritual, and two, it can tank the results of what you're trying to do, anyways. So it's like people got to be careful on actually practicing the spirituality too, because it's not just about the knowledge. Like we have to uphold this responsibility to like actually tell people like, hey, this is the thing that we're doing, and this is what we found in this school of spirituality, because there's different schools, and if people ain't gonna be cool with it, cool. But depending on your school of spirituality, I think it's very important to actually practice some of it, whatever you're doing. But be careful with it too, because people be hating. I don't know if you notice, like when people look at you, or you catch people look at you and stare at you too long. Have you noticed that?
To be honest, no. I never,
You
I
don't feel no burning sensation, not a burning sensation, but like you feel like your body just automatically like turn around and look right at the person that's looking at you. You've never had that?
I think that every time I'm usually in like public settings like that, no one has really looked at me with any negative energy.
No, it doesn't have to be negative. I didn't say negative.
You just mean like
Looking
their
at you.
energy channeled in
Right.
general. Um, yeah, I guess sometimes like I'll peek over my shoulder if I feel like someone's like looking at me, especially like when I was working retail, I would sense when someone was near me, even if they didn't make a peep or weren't even in my eye line. So yeah, I guess I did feel it even if I didn't know it at that time.
Like, do you know some people don't have that much discernment? People don't even have excuse me, they don't even have a conscience in their mind. I talked to a couple of my homies, they don't even have a voice in their head.
Well, yeah, it's so suppressed, right? I feel like in some degree like that sense that we have is a non-physical psychic sense. We all have psychic senses because we're non-physical beings in a physical body. You know what I mean? I think it's just tuning in to that knowing and understanding and practicing that in a way and having to reprogram your mind to know this truth because your ego is going to continue to try to cling on for dear life to what you know because it's familiar and it's safe. So I feel like that's why even when we do say to people, even if we have spiritual truth that we know is resonating with them, but they're so resistant, it's because everything within them is fighting that sense of self tied up in the identity with the beliefs that they've always been thinking. So it's kind of like you're right in the fact that some people never wake up in this life, and some people are just on different timelines. Like some people answer the call and some people don't. But for me, that dark night of the soul that lasted so long, I think it's because I resisted the call for so long. And the call was really strong within me. You know what I mean? Like it was loud. Like I started reading, tarot in 2020. And by, 20, 23, like 2022, I was just out of commission. Like, and that's where I'm sitting at home doing these, like, 3 hour meditations. Like, okay, take me. I'm here. Like, let me know what the F is up. But, like, thank God I did that. Thank God Spirit told me to trust and take a, leap of faith that girl, you don't got any more PTO and you might get fired and you didn't apply for disability ahead of time, but you're having a panic attack and the only logical solution right now is to claim that you're mentally unfucking well. And I had to do that and like my pride and everything was shattered. I felt like my whole life was going to fall apart and then I would wake up every day and I'm like, "Oh my God, wait, I still have a roof over my head." Weird. Like I had to, still like seek therapy and things like that. But I felt like I developed such a strong relationship with myself and source during that time. And what could take people 10 years to acquire in terms of their spiritual gifts and psychic gifts and developing and evolving those. I feel like I grew 30 years in two. It was insane. But it was also crying in the bathtub, like with my mascara, literally crying like this. This was intentional today. But like I've been there where I've been, in my mom's terms, a hot mess express. But boy, spirit has a way of saying it's either you come along or you sit in this for too long if you're chosen like that. It's nuts, at least from my experience.
Yeah, it's like when it comes to like calling, I view it as like a cell phone, right? Because everyone got a spiritual cell phone. It's just you want to pick it up, if you pay the bill, You feel me?
Yeah, it's like the antenna channel to source.
Facts. Like even with me having locks, like me and my people, like we did that for spiritual reasons. Like, yeah, it looks clean, but this is actually electrically, you know what I'm saying, channeled, and it's for spiritual purposes too, because it makes it easier to be connected with spiritual shit.
Mm.
I didn't know that at first. I just thought it looked clean, but then I actually talked to Rastafarians and stuff like that, why they actually got the locks and why they, are the originators of the locks. That's up to for debate because Vikings will say that all the time, but if you know what a Viking was, it literally means a Nordic bandit. But that's a whole nother video. So I don't praise, you know, people be like, "Oh, I'm a Viking." I'm like, that's cool, bro. But just know where it came from. You know what I'm saying? But but yeah, when it comes to that, it's like people got to pick up their cell phone. Spirit may be calling you for a long time, and eventually they're gonna cut that bill off. Like, fuck it, they ain't gonna learn in this lifetime. So I just really hope that whenever it's time for people to wake up, at least learn and wake up on a physical level, like at least of what's around you. Maybe internally there's no calling, but at least wake up what's in front of you and what's happening on a global scale. Like the earth is hurting all the time, and it's like we allow certain entities to like just roam free and control our lives. It's like it's all like a conveyor belt effect. It's like you go to school and they suppress spirituality off rip. You're in a building for 8 hours plus, and then boom, oh yeah, either go to a job when you're in another building, or if you're a criminal, you can go to jail, which is another building. You know what I'm saying? Suppressing your spirituality even more. Not saying that all criminals should be out because there's certain ones that should be in, but whatever. And then you go to college. That's a gray area. I won't get into that. But also that suppresses spirituality because, you know, a lot of classes that people take really don't benefit. Like, for example, like what's one that I seen? It was like somebody wanted to be like they went to art school and shit. But it was like, okay, is that a societal merited thing? Like, does that help society? Now, if it's a solo thing and you got some shit, okay, cool. I just think certain things that we do learn in this life, I think it should be like on a societal thing. But I'm just rambling right now. But yeah, I just think like if you can't be spiritual or whatever in this life, at least be aware of what's physically in front of you if you don't want to do internal work.
Well, yeah, I think it's just as human beings, like knowing that if you're going to talk 3D physical facts, right? Logic to help your brain understand, we're energy, period.
Period.
That's period. Like you can't debate, there's no debate. You're atoms. You're 0.9999999% space, bitch. Like this is
Right.
an illusion, whether you want to believe it or not. But our brains aren't meant to comprehend that. Our higher mind knows that, right? And can make sense of it. But I feel like things are always changing and evolving. It's just whether or not you're going with the current or you're resisting it, kind of thing. I do think the collective is raising in consciousness, but the same way there's going to be people who are ahead of the curve, there's going to be like on the leading edge of thought, there's going to be people who are not. But
And there's
both.
going to be people that resist too, because they're so stuck into the program, they're going to resist you.
Yeah, and I think that that's why kind of looking within is so important because I think that when you can really ask yourself, like, and have the self-love of I deserve to feel good and happy, and I deserve, like, I know I have the ability to change how I think in order to feel better, right? But if you're not taught that, you have to hit that dark night in your fucking soul to realize, like, no one's gonna save you. You and spirit save you. Like that, you can only transform yourself in your own life. So the more that you seek other people to do that, the worse it's going to feel. And the more that you focus on the negative in this life, the worse it's going to feel. There's so many magical things to be grateful for. The fact that I can even sit here via energy, beep, boop, 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 like talking to you, like what? That's insane. How are we doing this, really? Like technology, all of it. It's miraculous. Life is miraculous. And I think that we just are kind of shoved with so much information that we forget who we are. And then it's only like later in life where you might have a really strong reaction to something, like in the case that I did, where I was like, this can't be it. This can't be it because I never really wanted to leave this life, but I got damn near close. You know what I mean? And I was like, I know I love myself too much and there are too many things in life that I can enjoy, but I was never trained to appreciate and be present and ground myself in my body. I had to find that wisdom from source within me. Ain't no textbook telling me that. I literally felt a call to write a textbook for kids, I'm telling you, because a spiritual textbook for
Mhm.
kids.
You
Because
still do.
I just feel like to know that clearly we came from something greater, God, source, universe, like you're never alone, you're never abandoned. Like that period of like, I don't know what the fuck is going on that you feel in resistance to your life, it's because you have to like catch up to what your soul is trying to tell you, but you just can't hear it because you got all those other programs bopping around your head. But you have to quiet your mind and look within and say, are these beliefs serving me? And realize you can change them because otherwise you're going to be stuck in that.
That is true. That's true. When did you realize that you were slowly getting out of that darkness?
I feel like it comes and goes. I feel like there are times where the heaviness that was during that like initial time in my life, removing people from my life and really being alone, I think helped me a lot, right? Because then it just left me to me. And then I got to be my own best friend and be like, girl, what is going on, right? And developing that relationship with myself. And when you feel like no, everyone you're turning to around you like doesn't know what to do with your heavy emotion and can't understand what you're feeling, when you're in that like rock bottom, I feel like most people turn to God or something greater because we all know there's something greater that keeps our heart beating. Even if you don't believe in anything, if you ever hit that point, you're going to be like, everyone's going to look up. You know what I mean? So I feel like I just surrendered. And I feel like the more I kept surrendering and reminding myself of the thoughts that were more general that felt better, the better I started to feel, the more I believed in myself, the more I trusted myself. But I still battle with that very human part of my mind on a day-to-day basis that's stuck in that old programming. And it's where you have to like love yourself and have grace. And I say this to even clients that I read, and I have said to myself, like, Chloe, you have thought this way and believed these things for 20, like 5 years of your life. It's not just gonna magically go away overnight. But I can tell you that the last 3 years of my life, I think as an entire different person. I look an entirely different person. I feel like I've stepped into a new timeline and quantum jumped. Like there was a point in time where I was sitting in my apartment during that dark night where I wanted someone like you to sit on and have a conversation with me about this, and I'm living it. So if that doesn't show that like what you think about manifests, I don't know what does. I didn't know what it would look like, but I trusted it was going to come. And I think that understanding you're a co-creator helps you trust the universe and kind of go with the flow, but you can feel when you're not. And I sometimes still in my humanness get mad at myself because I quote unquote know better, right? But then I'm like, yeah, I can know better, but I can still like acknowledge my very human emotion and understand that they're just not me. I can actually feel them and release them and not suppress them and claim them as me. And I think that it's just practicing the logical knowing into the embodying of those new beliefs in that new version of you. It's really, that's why people say like stepping into your highest self, because you really have to like be like, no, me, Chloe, higher self Chloe, she's taking the lead. Intuition, you tell me, because this is going to keep you in the same loop that you've always been.
Facts. That's why like one of my favorite Take Nine songs it's called Eba, Evil Brain Angel Heart. Uh, it really just tells you about like the constant battle that your mind and brain have all the time. And even in the reflection of that, it'd be like your spirit versus like what you're trying to do down here. You're not supposed to battle that. It's supposed to be a mirror. So a lot of the times we craft who we are or what we're trying to be. And but some people always want to go to the finish line, you know what I'm saying, instead of trying to build that complete version of themselves and trust in the process. So I just think that people do need to, it's sad to say, but some people do need to have like a little ego death or something like that, or darkness of the soul, because they do need it, because it builds character development, unfortunately. But some people may need it, maybe a wake-up call, you know what I'm saying. um some people it may be like, hold on, you're not getting the message, so go through this real quick so you can finally fucking learn. And sometimes it's a harsh, you know what I'm saying, time. But if you come out strong in the end, it was worth it.
Yeah, I feel like going through those like repeat cycles of contrast, like eventually you're either going to be victim for the rest of your life and feel like you have no control, or you're going to get it. You know what I mean? But I feel like the key for me was almost realizing that I had control over how I felt, right? And knowing that, oh, I had a thought when you said what you said and it boop went away. I
Oh
had a
yeah.
train of thought and it literally went away. But that's a perfect example of like you're not your thoughts. Thoughts just happen and you're the conscious awareness. You're not the thoughts. You know what I mean? So I feel like in so many ways like realizing that and you know, can you repeat your point that you made? I know you're going to say the thing that I need to hear.
What I just said.
Yeah, summarize it for me.
Pretty much, it's like you shouldn't battle your higher self if you're trying to be better. And that somebody, a lot of times, some people need to go through the dark night of the soul because they're probably doing something that they're not supposed to, or they're not learning in that particular moment. So they got to go through the harshest moments in order to come out stronger. If they, make it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like but in that experience, you're consciously expanding whether you're aware that you're aware or not, which is so interesting to think about because, you know, even when, oh, and I even thought about this when you said that there are people who don't really kind of hear that inner dialogue and how like you suppress it. Because when you're noticing your thoughts like spiral a little bit and you can kind of like get taken away, you have like 17 seconds before like the momentum just takes you down the rabbit hole, so you have to like tune yourself to kind of catch it before it goes in that direction. But I almost feel like I just I'm grateful for my dark night of the soul. I don't feel like, because you said unfortunately some people have to go. I'm fortunate I went through that fucking shit, man. Because thank God I did. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be as connected and feel as good as I do now and knowing who I am. I had to
That's why
shed
I said
that.
some. That's why I said some. Because like,
Yeah.
and then the other part I said was maybe you have to go through it, but you can come out strong. Because some people don't. Unfortunately, um, life's about trials and tribulations a lot of the times. But during those moments, it can be the toughest. Because every day's an uphill battle. It's like it's never gonna. It's just gonna get a little bit more easier. It's not gonna be. Because even if your physical life's cool, internally you may be feeling really bad. So it's
That's
like
true.
you gotta find equilibrium within yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're kind of going through an experience, because everyone experiences like sadness and heavy emotion, right? But when it feels like you're being eaten alive from within, like I'm talking like you're so lost in the sauce that you don't even know where you are, who you are, why you're here anymore. Remembering that, like, you're not being punished. Like, yes, like karma exists, but the universe, spirit, like, loves you unconditionally. And I feel like encourages you to realize that it's not a punishment, it's just an undoing. Like, you just have to expand because the universe is forever expanding. We're tiny, 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 tiny. And the whole, like, no one talks about space. Like, our creator made so much shit, like the ethers, literally. And so it's like when you know that, like, it's just, we're here to just be. And
Yeah,
it's, a,
I still wanted to comment too. Yeah, the universe could love you though, but it's just only just a it's just a place where it's neutral. Because like, let's say you put out, because whatever you put out, you're getting back. So let's say you're a negative person, the universe has no idea what, you know what I'm saying, it is that you are as a person. It's just receiving the energy itself. So if you're a negative motherfucker, that's just gonna
well,
boomerang.
yeah, like bounce back to you. I agree with that. That's kind of like the law of cause and effect. But I do feel like there is that intuitive true higher self within all of us that's like, hey, you made a
I don't believe
decision
that.
that you don't think that. I feel like there's a part of me, at least, that really became clear in this like universal communication that when I felt like the world was against me and I was getting a reflection that I didn't like, something within me was like, hey, you can just do something different and get different results. If you act from a place of feeling good that is for the good of all, harm to none, you'll receive love back.
The reason I say that is because people's higher selves are different. Because you got to remember the word self is an individual thing. So everyone's good ain't good for you. So someone of the highest version of themselves may be destructive to you. You know what I'm saying? There's people actually out there that want to elevate to be over people. You know what I'm saying?
But isn't
So
that more ego driven than it is like your divine self?
I
Like
mean,
your
that
lower self.
that's divine to some people. Some people actually there's whole societies that used to do that. Rome used to do that, like the classism and the fascism things. That they all believed in that. So it's kind of like not everyone, but like at least the government. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't believe that everyone's higher self is actually what is supposed to be defined as. I think it's just good for them because our intentions are always going to be different. Like what you intend, like your intent is not going to be the same as mine, especially for different situations. But when it comes to divine self, no one knows what that looks like until you bring it down and we can physically see it. So I don't
That
believe that
that
divine is
that reminded me of what I was gonna say. I feel like no one really wants the thing outside of them. They want the feeling that they think it will bring them by having it. So if you know that you already can feel those feelings from within without having said thing, then you wouldn't feel the need to do things that were either quote unquote good or bad in order to get it because you would feel fulfilled within yourself. That's what I mean in terms of high self because you're I feel like everyone's true self, we have the same creator.
true, but it's neutral, like I was saying, because it's just like I don't want to say hive mind, but like it's kind of like a colony, I guess. Like we're all in the same area, but everyone has different ideologies. Like we're all supporting this thing that we're living in right now to some degree, but there's some bees in the hive that really ain't messing with the colony like that. You know what I'm saying? But we all, to a certain degree, are going for the same cause, at least on a physical level. Now, eternally, I have no idea. No, but I don't think everyone's true self is or divine self is. quote unquote good or bad. I think it's just them, you know, and how it looks to us may be good for, they may think it's a good thing to be a evil motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a reflection of how they play out here. So like, that's what I think at least. Um, because if you're a good person and then you keep getting in that divine self energy and you keep doing good, then it's like, oh, okay, then this is what we're seeing. This is your divine version of yourself. You are a good person. So I don't know. I'm kind of neutral on that. So I guess that's the end of the episode. I hope you guys like the costumes. But I really enjoy talking about these kind of things because I know we don't want to always make it like a teaching thing, you know what I'm saying? To where it's like, oh yeah, that. I'm like, bro, let's talk about some stuff that we actually could just go on a tangent on instead of having notes. But yeah, how did you feel about it?
I mean, my notes and rants are still me teaching because I feel like me communicating anything I know is me teaching if someone wants to take what I'm saying for themselves, kind of thing. But I feel like in general, I think it was very interesting to have someone who had a contrast in perspective than me. You know what I mean? Like so firmly. I don't feel like I've really experienced anyone who can kind of have a contrasting, like, not argument, but just like a strong, different point of view where, like, I'm like, oh, I don't really think about it in that way. That's interesting. And you and I both can, like, agree that we have points and, like, our experience is valid no matter what. And I feel like, because clearly Chloe always has to teach something. So if I'm going to leave everybody with like words, it's just going to be to kind of don't be afraid if you feel lost and like you're in that dark night of the soul based on some of the things that we mentioned that you might be feeling. Like there's nothing inherently maybe wrong with you. It just means that your soul has a desire to grow and you just have to go with it to grow through it, kind of thing. So, yeah, no, but I think it was very fun and I wanted to like share my story as well because I think that it was important for people to know that if you feel like you're losing your fucking mind, it's because you are, but it's important because you have to like lose your mind to create a new one and to change and evolve as a person. That's a book I read by Joe Dispenza, by the way, which is a great book. How to Lose Your Mind to Create a New One. Chef's kiss. Really helped me learn how to reprogram my thoughts that felt better and that were more empowering, right? Because I feel like when people kind of look for power or, wealth outside of themselves, it's because they feel like they're lacking in some way. And if you already know you have it all, there isn't anything you have to do really other than just be in alignment and receive that ish. You know what I mean? Have fun, play, put your hands in the clay a little bit kind of thing. But there's hope. And oh, that was the other thing. Thank you, Spirit, for letting it to me. When you're in that dark period, I feel like the only thing that got me through it was believing that the light existed. And so I feel like me knowing that the light was there, even if I couldn't see it, having faith, I think really helped carry me through and made those heavy moments a lot lighter because I knew that I was the light that could guide me out of it. And so I would tell that to the same people.
Word.
But yeah, that's it. That's it for my Dark Night of the Souls spiritual rant. But thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm gonna pass it over back to you, babe, because we're gonna do our celestial check-in.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we love you. Bye.
Bye.